Okay. If you are, you know that an almana can marry a kohen gadol. A kohen gadol can marry an almana and a gerusha. We all also know that kiddushin is typhus by chave lavan. Kiddushin is typhus by chave lavan. We also know that a girl who is a bas kohen, a girl who's a bas kohen, she eats truma. She eats truma. If she's a bas Yisrael, she eats truma only after the marriage is consummated. However, there is a halacha that if the 12 months, usually there was a period between Erisin and the Suin, between the Kedushin and living together was 12 months. The Gemara in Nun Zayin in Ksuba says, if the dilly-dallying and the wedding's not taking place, then she'd be able to eat truma. Then she'd be able to eat truma again. Nidra Raisa, she really is able to eat truma right away. The whole reason she doesn't is because of maybe she'll bring it home to her house, or maybe they'll find the mum and retroactively go ahead and blow it. As then Zayin and basic subis. In other words, so she really should eat the Raisa Dikadin. So what do? The Rabbanan said, if you dilly-dally around after 12 months, guess what? You have to feed. Good. So now that's by a normal case. What happens if the girl happened to be an almana or a gerusha? Now we know kedushin's typhus, but it's not a marriage that a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. So if you did kedushin, if she's a bas kohen, does she continue with the truma? And if it's after 12 months by a bas Yisrael, would she get truma? So this is contingent upon whether you hold a bia psula mishtameres or not. Whether you awaiting a bia psula would go ahead and constitute a marriage, an ability to eat truma or not. And that's the machloikis in our Mishnah. It's a very interesting sugya with a lot of different variables. And B'ez Hashem, I wish us all hatzlacha. Meaning, good luck. Says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. Almana l'koyin gadol, grusha v'chalutza l'koyin hedyet. I'm on nun vav amid beis. On nun vav amid beis. The Mishnah. So you have an almana to a koyin gadol, a grusha v'chalutza to a koyin hedyet. Now, Mina Erisin, lo yochel b'truma. Mina Erisin, again, this is the Rabbanan because she's mishtameres l'bia psula, guys. Again, what's she awaiting? She's waiting a bia that a Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want. So says the Tanakama, who the Gemara will identify as Reb Meir, says lo yochlu because a woman who's mishtameres l'bia psula does not eat truma. But kedushin is tofes. She's an arusa already. She's an arusa. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon machshirin. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon they machshir. So let's see, because they would hold that mishtameres l'bia psula would eat. And again, what is exactly is the case, guys? Here's a big machloikas rishonim, a huge machloikas rishonim. Just for your edification, if you have your own Gemara, you should definitely underline this word, because again, if you go down in Rashi, guys, Rashi brings a whole pshat, and then he brings the lishna achrina, and everything's like the lishna achrina. So count up from the bottom of the page: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the bottom of the page towards the end of the line. Rashi will now explain the Mishnah. In the Gemara, Rashi is explaining the Mishnah. Isn't that interesting? In the Gemara, Rashi is explaining the Mishnah. Lashon acher, v'hu ikar, and this is the main. Almana l'kayin gadol, grush v'chlutz l'kayin hedyet, min erisin lo yochle b'truma, bein b'bas kohen, whether she's a bas kohen who's been eating truma all along, bein b'bas Yisrael kamayri, or whether it's a bas Yisrael that's going to eat after 12 months. The bas kohen can depreciate, like I explained. And the Bas Yisrael, Valiba the Mishnah Rishayna, Domer B'Ksubis, Higiyas Mavlein is so. 12 months shows up, and he doesn't go ahead and consummate the marriage. Ochlos Mishalo, she eats from his house. Ochlos B'Truma, and if she's a Bas Yisrael and he's a Kohen, she'd eat Truma. The Kamer of Meir, what does Meir say? Amal Kohen God, Lachbi, the Kedushin, even though Kedushin is good Kedushin, it's typhus. The Kinyan Kaspahu, and as a result, it's Kinyan Kaspo, she's considered his wife. Lo Yisaycha B'Truma, Kishara Rusayis L'Kohen. My timer, not. My timer, there's Shemaris Labia Avera, it's not going to eat. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon machshirin, why? The Kinyan Kaspahu, and any Kinyan Kaspa of a Kohen eats, the Eved of a Kohen eats, the Chamor of a Kohen eats, right? They eat. Good. The Imishum Chalala, now what are you going to say? If a Chalala doesn't eat, How he calls manchlei ba'aleha is longer the marriage has not had relations. Loinis chalala, she does not become a chalala. So that's the din of the Mishnah, the way Rashi explained it. So back in the Mishnah one more time, whether it's a bas kohen who has been eating truma all along, or whether it's a bas Yisrael who it's after 12 months and Allah is they said you eat Mishnah Mishnah, right? Nonetheless, lo yochlus b'truma. Why? Because it's a mishtameres l'bia avera. Rabbi Elazar Shimon Machshirin, no, it's mishtameres l'bia avera is what is still not psula. Now this almana in this garshu, let's say she becomes an almana or a gerusha, min anisuin. If the marriage had been consummated, psulois. Even Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon would be maida. It's puzzle. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. No? Yeah. No. When I say that,
yeah, I know you can.
So min anisuin psulois. Pirish, guys, she's a halala. Guys, once she has relations with the psul, she's a gerusha to a kohen. She's an almanul kohen hedyet. She's a halala. She can't go back to daddy's home and eat. She can't go back there, and if she's a bas kohen, so she that you've been feeding because it's after 12 months. If she's a bas Yisrael, gone. Even Rebbe Elazar and Reb Shimon, who says that mashtameres l'bia psula would be okay, here's not. Why? However, conversely, mina erisin over here, mina erisin kasheris. Even Reb Meir would be moida, but Meir, conversely, by arusa, where the marriage hasn't been consummated, then she would eat. She goes back to daddy's house. She would eat. What? No. You're playing both sides of the fence. It's very geschmack. The whole reason that she doesn't is because it's mishtameres to be a psula. Once he dies and it's not be a psula anymore, so she remains what she is. Right? Good. Tanya Reb Meir Kal v'chomer. Uma kedushay rishus. This is the way I'm going with Rashi's pshat. Guys, be aware the Tosfos disagrees vehemently. Uma kedushay rishus. A regular kedushin. A bas Yisrael to a Yisrael. In other words, no truma whatsoever. Guys. What? Again, uma kedushay rishus. Ein machilin, you don't eat truma. Kedushay avera like kol sheken, you don't eat truma. Yeah, it's called the chayma, guys. Badach by a Yisrael to a bas Yisrael doesn't eat truma. So bad. A kohen, an almanu kohen gadol, a grush lutzal in head, eat truma. So amuloi. They told it. They said to Reb Meir, "Lo yamamim mikadushay rishus shekain ein lo lahachol b'makam acher." He's never going to feed. There's never feeding. There's never truma there at all. Time of kedushay avera shekain yesh lo lachil b'makam acher. Kedushay avera you could feed. What happens if it's a regular nesuin? A regular nesuin, a bas Yisrael to a kohen, or a bas kohen to a kohen eats. So therefore, in the realm of eating it works. By rishus, it never works. Now that's the Gemara. Again. So again, what's the walk away with this Yisai? Let's walk away with this Yisai and let's the Chazra Fadak. You have an almana to a kohen gadol, kedushin's typhus. If usually what midaraisa you could eat truma. If you're a bas kohen, you could continue to eat truma, and if you're a bas Yisrael, if you didn't consummate the marriage after 12 months, you could eat. Okay. So what happens if what? However, it's not a normal marriage because it's one that the God Hakadosh Baruch Hu frowns upon. So therefore, said we have machlokes. Says the Tanakama Reb Meir, since this bia is headed for a bia of avera, she doesn't eat. Says Reb Elazar Shimon, as long as she hasn't become a halala, she does. That's the machlokes. Good. Now, Rabbi Shaya. Now there's a din in the Torah, guys, of ptsua daka. These are ailments that do not enable a person to have a child. They can't father a child. If we know they can't father a child, they're not able to marry the Kal Hashem. They're not. So let's say you have what? A kohen that's a ptsua daka. A kohen that's a ptsua daka. So we want to know, A, if he loses his kahuna or not. And we'll see how that plays out. Says the Gemara. Here's the Shaya. Rabbi Shaya. Ptsua daka kohen, shekidish bas Yisrael. Right? And guys, and now you reach 12 months. Ptsua daka, you reach 12 months. So what's the halacha? After 12 months, you got Higiyas man, linase, and she don't, you start eating truma. Bonu machloikis Reb Meir, Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon. We want to say this would be the same machlokes. In other words, just as an almana to a kohen gadol is not allowed, just like a gerusha to a kohen is not allowed, who had din of suadaka is not allowed. It's a bia psula. La yavai kushavcha bia psula kal Hashem. It's a more comprehensive. It's a more comprehensive issur. Why do you say that? It's a chayv elavim. It's a chayv elavim. It's a chayv elavim. If a mom says makadosh a girl, it's typhus.
It doesn't make a difference if the problem is with her or the problem is with him.
Again, this is his problem. This is his problem. We're not dealing halachically. We're dealing with, for sure this guy's a khrushchev. I mean, you do not need an internal examination to ascertain this. Now, okay, you're mixing. You were going to learn the halachas. This guy, we know unequivocally, his vas deferens was cut. Good. In other words, he's out. He's out. He's out. There's no. For sure, this guy was cut in this area where to go ahead and be mazriya, it doesn't work. Now, this person goes ahead, and he is mekadesh ebas Yisrael, and he is a kohen. Does she, after 12 months, eat truma or not? So Reb Oishia wants to suggest, right, that this is the same machlokes as our Mishnah. Just like our Mishnah was Amon l'kohen gadol and Gerusha to l'kohen hedyet, so we have a psuadaka to a bas Yisrael. Can this be a bia? No. Why? Because it's in this chayv elavim. It's chayv elavim. Good. So now, just like in our Mishnah to machlokes, whether a bia, a mishtameres to be a psula is yes or no. Reb Meir says no. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon say yes. Who are then over here? The same thing. He wants a tzushtel the two. The Gemara is going to show you that maybe it's not a tzushtel. Good. So right now you got the tzushtel. Pretty obvious. Good. Says the Gemara. Reb Meir dama mishtameres to be a psula deraisa lo yachla. Oh, kohen gadol and almana. Garush and chalutza that she doesn't eat. Hanami lo yachla. Here you won't eat as well. Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon, Dami Mishtameres to be a psula deraisa achla. Amid Aleph. Hanami achla. You'd eat here as well. So l'chayra, we just want to Rabbi she wants to say this case of psua daka marrying a kohen is what Bas Yisrael marrying a psua daka kohen is the exact same machlokes as our Mishnah. Says no. 1 second. Dilma ad kan loy ka'amer Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Hasam by kohen gadol and by kohen Gerusha el de yesh loy lahachel b'makam acher. He's able to go ahead and another woman. Let's say it's not a Gerusha, it's not an almana. Then they would feed a truma. Hacha de ein loy lahachel b'makam acher loy. You don't have a hecha timtza. Period. So no, it's a more comprehensive. It's not by almanal kain gadol, by gerusha l'chutzon we had in the Gemara. It's a lav shein shava b'kol. Remember, we wanted to say it's a lav shein shava b'kol. It's more reason to be lenient, and nonetheless you don't eat here. When it's more comprehensive, maybe Elazar Shimon who matters over there would say over here azap that he can't ever. There's never a heka timtzu where a psuadaka could come in. Over here they would agree that it doesn't feed truma. Over here we agree. So in other words, you're not locked into saying that they would hold that way. Conversely, the other way around. We'll get into this. You're going to say what? If there's a place where a psuadaka could go ahead, guys, a psuadaka could go ahead and feed, who is that? A daughter of a Geiris, the daughter of Gerim, and therefore it's not considered kahal. And therefore they would be able to marry. And if he's a kohen, he could feed her. So in other words, your kasha was what? Your kasha was, it's all comprehensive. But if I can find you a case, then it's the exact same thing as kohen gadol, and we're going to get into it, Mendy. He asked the shaila whether it's true that whether they could, but Ptsuadaka could marry Bas Gerim, and I'm going to get into it in a second. So Itmar, Abaye Omar, Hoyel Machila B'loy Yoda. Now here's the case, guys. Regular kohen, he's a regular kohen. He's a fine fellow, and he's married to a Bas Yisrael, and she's eating truma. He becomes a Kushavcha, right? He becomes a Kushavcha, and then he has relations with her. You know what? She can't eat anymore. She's a Chalala. Listen to this case, guys. Kohen marries a regular woman. Listen to the case. Kohen marries a regular woman. Everything's fine. She's eating truma. He's a Kohen. She's a regular girl. He loyalenu has an accident and it becomes a psuadaka or a kushavcha. Good. Now, the next time he has relations with her, that makes her a halala, and she would not be able to eat truma anymore.
It was busted before marriage. Even during marriage?
Even during marriage, right. Right. No, it's not a chiddush. So that's a chiddush, that the kohen, one has nothing to do with the other, right? Right. Balmum means kach, right? Balmum could eat. They do. So now, so look at the guys. So now, he went ahead and lo yada here means like vayeda adam is ishto. It's a lashon of bia. It's a lashon of bia. Vayeda is lashon of bia. So now, so it marabai amahayil machila lo yada. Since he goes ahead and feeds her, as long as he didn't have relations with her. So now you have a case, guys, of psuadaka that feeds the makam acher. You want to know a case of psuadaka feeding? If what? He had been married, he fed her. Now he's a psuadaka. As long as he doesn't live with her, she continues to eat. So now it would be a good sushtel. Apparently, Talmud Kohen Gadol and Grush B'Litzvah Neged. So Rabbi says, you know why she can eat? She can eat because he can feed his eved and shevchasa kananim, so she could eat. I want to learn kinyan dishus and kinyan ishus. I want to stay in that family. I don't want to go to your kinyan kaspo. You know why? She continues to eat over there, not because it's because of the previous situation, not because anything that Psuadaka could feed her. It's because you're eating from before. So it's nothing to do with the fact that it's Psuadaka.
If she had a child, would she be able to continue eating after you became Psuadaka?
If she had a child, yeah, l'chayra, I would say, yeah, I would say yes. Shani hacha shekvar achla, v'abaya, yeah, v'abaya shekvar achla yaminon. We don't say that. The ilay tema hachi bas Yisrael shenisus l'kayin umis a bas Yisrael that marries a kayin and dies. Teichel she should eat, and we know what she doesn't, even though shekvar achla. And Rabbi says no. Hasan paka kinyana there, since he's dead, the kinyan is gone. Pacha, they're still married, like Paka Kinyana, and therefore she's no different than an Eved and a Shivcha. Bottom line is, you would be able to eat. You would be able to eat. And L'chaira, I don't know if you wanted to sushtel the Gemara, so therefore you have a Hechet Timtzah of where you could eat, and therefore it would be, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether you could say it's Machloikis is dependent. Why? Because it's an upslug. Apparently it's an upslug, because you don't say b'makam acher. Now you consider this; it's not considered b'makam acher over here, right? According to Abaya, it's because you're ready. According to Abaya, you're eating what because it's not a halala, and according to him, because it's kinyanishus. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if you slugged up the previous Gemara or not. That's what I'm telling you. I think the Gemara seems to goes along with it. It seems that it's fine.
Kinyanishus isn't partially Kinyan Kesef?
Yeah, the king is kedushin, but you don't own your wife. She's not your eved.
No, that we know.
I think if anything, it's right. Let's not go there. Right? I'm taking that off. Okay. Anyway, Kufa. We said previously. Now, guys, we're going to get this is a very difficult Gemara. This is a very difficult Gemara. Let me give you information as much as let's give you information. If you're a Kohen, and you're a Psuadaka, right, and now you're marrying a Giyaris or a Bas Giyaris. Good. If a Kohen can marry Giyaris, a Giyaris is a Halala. Giyaris is a Halala because we're chayish that she had relations beforehand. So it's a Mischala. That's why a Kohen can't marry a Giyaris. A Kohen can marry a Giyaris. Good. What about a Bas Giyaris, the daughter of a Giyaris? Good. What about the daughter of a Giyaris? Can you marry or not? Now it would depend how you view the Giyaris, and then also it would depend how you view the Kohen. So let's go through the different variables over here. He's a Kohen, and she is we'll view her as a Giyaris. In other words, she's she's out. In other words, he can't marry her. His kedusha would stop him from marrying her. Right now, he's a b'tsu. Let's say if he's a b'tsu daka and he's not a kohen. So then it would depend upon her status. If she's considered kahal, then he can marry her, not because of him, because of her. Lo yavai b'tsu daka b'kal Hashem. But if a giyaris is not considered kahal, then what? Then he would be able to marry her. So those are the various variables over here to understanding the Gemara. Okay, says the Gemara, a halt cup. Kufa. Boy mine Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yishia. Psuadaka koyen shenasa bas gerim. Again, it has to be bas gerim, guys. It can't be a ger because again, a ger is a halal. Giyaris is a halal. Ma'u sheyochilenu b'truma. What's the halacha about feeding truma? So that's what Rabbi Yochanan asked Rabbi Yishia, and Ishtik, and he remained silent. He didn't say anything. The Saif also gave a Rabbi Achrina, came along another great man, and Uboy Mine Milsa Achrita, and he asked him a totally different shaila to Rabbi Yishia, Upashitle, and he answered the shaila. Umanu. And who was that great man? It's Reish Lakish. That great man was Reish Lakish. So now, Rabbi Yochanan didn't answer, and Reish Lakish he did answer. So Amalei Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Who's Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, guys? Loi. People make that mistake. It's not Rebbe. There you go, Doc. It's the grandson of Rebbe. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's. Who was his son? Rabbi Gamliel, and his son was not Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Because people make that mistake all the time, and that's why I go out of my way to go ahead and what? No, you raised your hand. Trust me, there are plenty of people here who were thinking that also. So now, Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. So now, he said to Rabbi Yishia, or to Rabbi Yochanan, Lav Gavarabu, why didn't you ask him? You answered Rabbi Reish Lakish, right? Because the Gavarabu, you didn't answer him. Why did you ask him? Amalei, because he said the Kaboy Minei Milsa, the last name, sorry, I didn't know. He asked me a shayla, I didn't know. Rabbi Yochanan asked me a shayla. I don't know whether what the answer is. Now, Laman, we're going to go through the study of the shayla. This is the machlokes at the end of Kedushin. Okay? But about a coin that's up to a daka, what's b'giyoris? What's the din b'giyoris? Let's go Rashi for a second. We have time. Then Kedusha coin. Come on, b'perika oral. Mi boilon coin p'tsu a daka. Mahu b'giyoris. Do we say b'ktushase koi v'aser because he can't marry a chalala? V'hacha bein b'ktushase koi nasa p'tsu a daka. Bein b'ktushas koyin koi v'asa b'chal. Asur slakahuna. Bein lav kedusha koi. Bein amusam elisa isha beguma layachla. Now, either way, we're going to say over here, Rabbi Yehuda, guys. Rabbi Yehuda is going to say she can't eat, and Rabbi Yossi is going to say she could eat. So therefore, he didn't know what to answer him. I got it. L'charetz machlokes. I know him. Says the Gemara. What's the tooth starting to the shaila? So you have a coin that's up to a daka. What's the din? Bein biktusha say bein koi bein lav biktusha koi. Whether the coin remains a kohen, or whether he doesn't, loy achla, says Rabbi Yehuda, you don't eat. Ibikrusa koi loy achla, why? The amamar bas ger zacha ki bas chalal zacha. A bas ger of a male is like a bas chalal, and therefore he can't what? And he can't go ahead and marry her. She's a chalala. So if bikrushasa koi, she's out. Why? Because she's what? A chalala. Now, how could she be in? Guys, how could she be in if he is not a kohen? Good. Now, ilab b'ktushasa koi, and if it's not b'ktushasa, loy achla, you still don't eat. The amrinon kahal gerim ikri kahal. So now, to the other extent, right? She now is not. She's considered part of Klal Yisrael. Good. So even though she's I say halala, she'd be considered a full-fledged Jew. If she's a full-fledged Jew, forget if he's a kohen, he's a Suadaka. And Suadaka came out in Kal Hashem. So either way, you can't feed. If it's a kohen, right, she's what? She's a halala. And if he's not a kohen, she's a full-fledged Yid, and what? And he came out in Kal Hashem. Now, the Ila Reb Yossi, and Reb Yossi says, Bein b'ktushasa koi, bein la b'ktushasa koi, whether what it is b'ktusha or not b'ktusha, achla, you do eat. Why? B'ktusha koi. If he's a kohen, Achla, she eats. Why? The Ama Afger Shenasa Giyaris Pita Kasher Lekahuna. Even a ger that marries a Giyaris, she's not a halala. She's what? She's kasha lekahuna. Only the first generation. The next generation, not. That's Rabbi Yossi shita. That's the machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and Yuchsin, between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. So since she's not a halala, you could eat. Why? He's a kayin. She's kasha. Great. Now, ilav bikdusha sa'akai, and let's say he's not bikdusha, guys, right? Meaning he's a psuadaka. Achla, you eat. You know why? The Amar, because Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion, kahal geirim loy ikri kahal. In other words, it's so blatant according to each one. Miman of shach, guys. Either way, you're going to eat. Let's go through the tzadim, guys. Let's go through the tzadim. Rabbi Yehuda says either way you don't eat. Why? If he's a psuadaka kayin, if he's a kayin, she's a halala. If he's a psuadaka, she is what? She's kahal, out. According to Rabbi Yossi, you eat either way. Why? If he's a kayin, she's not a halala, because she's not a giyaris, right? And if he's a psuadaka, she's not called kahal, right? You know, she's a Jew, but not called kahal. And so either way he eats. So therefore, he didn't know what to answer. So who's the shaila according to? According to a third opinion. The machlok is not Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Yossi, but according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Guys, good? Says the Gemara, but according, so therefore, El Aliba, who's it according to? El Aliba the Haitana. The Tnan, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Aimer, Isha Baskerim, Loi Tinase Lekahuna. An Isha who is the daughter of Baskerim should not marry into Kahuna, like Rabbi Yehuda. Like Rabbi Yehuda, she's Chalala, Achete Imam Yisrael. Until her, in other words, if a ger marries a Bas Yisrael, who then you can marry. But as long as the Giyaris stays in the family, she's a Chalala. The Hachi Kami Boile. What? How do you view it? She's going from being right. Do we say kashrus mitaisva ba va'achla? Idilma kedusha mitaisva ba v'loy achla. Let's see Rashi, guys. It's a fabulous Rashi here. Go down. Kashrus mitaisva ba. Now she gets elevated from what? From being a chalala to being kaisha. For ru'ya lekahuna, and now she's ready to be kohen. For lav kedusha lekruya kahal, but not 2 steps to be called kahal. Umuteres the b'tzuadaka, and be mutter to b'tzuadaka. Vaycheles mimanushach. The inami b'kedusha koi harizem muteres loy. Umishim b'tzuadaka loy mitzvah loy yakri kahal. Guys, let's go through madregas. Let's go through madregas. 3 madregas. You're a giyaris, right? You're kasha, and you're allowed into the kahal. In other words, there's a distinction between being a kosher, not a halala, but still not being called kahal. So now, if those are the 3 things, if she is nitefes kashrus, either way she's going to eat. Why? Because you're going from a halala to parv. Therefore, as the kayin part, you could eat because why? She's not a halala. If he's a psuadaka part, she's not kahal. She's not the level 3. She's only level 2. So miman of shach, light that side, she could eat.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm saying it's halfway point. Light that side, you could eat. That's what Rashi just said. So it's very ambiguous in the Gemara, but here's the way it goes. The Tana Elazar ben Yaakov Isha baskerim leitinasi lekuna chedei imam Yisraelis. Now v'hachi coming by the way. When she does come in, kashrus mitaisva, meaning she's not a chalala, but she's not a kahal. For achla, aidilma kedusha mitaisva ba v'loy achla. Or maybe she goes all the way to being what? And she a kahal, and she won't eat. Says Rashi, aidilma kedusha nami mitaisva ba ukahal likri. Okay, but now what about the tzad of kahuna? She should be able to eat the tzad kahuna, right? She should be able to eat the tzad kahuna, yes?
No, if he's a pseudodaka, she can.
Again, but I'm saying this suffix in him. If he's a kayin and you're telling me that she goes all the way to being kahal, why can't she eat? Right? But no, he's a kayin. B'kedusha, he stays b'kedusha. that like that side, why shouldn't be able to? Right. Okay. Now, again, this is Shver Gemara. Says the Gemara, Toshma, let's be pushed to the Shaila. Right? Let's be pushed to the Shaila. Ki asa Reb Acha Bar Chinana Midroima, when he came up from the south, asa biasim asisim biyada. He came and he brought what the following brisa with him. Minayim lebetzu adaka kaye, shenasa bas gerim, shemachila betruma. How do you know a betzu adaka kaye who marries bas gerim that you could eat? In other words, you could place the shaila that you could eat. Shenemar the kayin kiyikna nefesh kinyan kaspoy is right. It says nefesh kinyan kaspoy yoichal boy leman. Who's this said according to that kinyan kaspoy would eat? Elaim Rabbi Yehuda hama bein b'shasakai bein lev b'shasakai loyachla. Rabbi Yehuda said what? You don't eat. Rabbi Yosi lamali kra. Why do you need a pasuk? Hama bein b'shasakai where the kohen stays b'kedusha bein lev b'shasakai is only b'tzu adaka. Achla eats. Elo lav Rabbi Los ben Yaakov shmamina kashrasi taisvaba that it's kashrus. She doesn't go all the way to become a kahal. That it should be asa. The achla min manav shach guys. Min manav shach you eat. If it's a kohen, she's not a chalala. She's in part of the state. And if she's a psuadaka, she's not a kahal, and she's a part of the state. Shema mi no place to the shaila. Good. Okay, this is a very hard guy. I'm giving you Russia Prakim. This is like, I got a page sent to me, a whole explanation of this Gemara. And what did I do? I put it in like in the trash because it was. I could have sent out this piece. I was like a lot of Hebrew letters. Anyway, Itmar. Rav Omar. Rav says the following. Now you'll smile. Everyone smiles. Good. This is the page where the people in Daf Yomi smile. The people in Yeshiva groan. Right? Look at the size. As my Rosh would say, look at the boich in that Tosfos. He used to say, look at the boich. Look at the stomach on that Tosfos. It's like that's what he said.
It's not Rashi. So.
Okay, now we're going to see. Anyway, we're going to see the first Tosfos, by the way. Anyway, yeah. I listen, Mendy. I have to pay you something. You're smiling too much tonight, Mendy. I have to do something, Yesh chuppah l'psailis u'shmula me'ein chuppah l'psailis. Now, what is going on over here? Let's see, guys. Outside. How would marriage take place? We know by now. Kedushin, you go and give a woman kesef or shtar, and you say hayat mekudeshesli, right? The kesef. 3. He only stopped by 2 because again, those beer, we don't do beer as manazeh. So he stopped by 2. So now, yes, we have kesef and shtar, and then 12 months later, you'd be machnes the chuppah, what we call nesuin. But manazeh, we do all at once. What exactly is nesias chuppah? Covering up, what about decking, or going in the room alone to be yachid? That's really what it is. That's what it is. Okay, now you did chuppah, but you didn't do kedushin. You did chuppah, you didn't kedushin. Anyway, you did chuppah, but you didn't do kedushin. Right. Is there yesh chuppah l'psoilus or not? Says Rashi. Let's see Rashi in places.
There's no erison.
No erison. Yesh chuppah l'psoilus. Kain gadol shehichnis almana. Now you obviously can't be speaking about the other grusha, right? Because he came out here. So kain gadol shehichnis almana bas kayin l'chuppah. She's a bas kayin. She's eating truma. And he goes ahead and does chuppah. But he never lived with her, so she's not what? A chalala. And he didn't give her what? Erison. Because then subject to the machlokes between Reb Meir and Rabbi Lazar and Reb Shimon. That's our Mishnah. Afilu hachi posnami truma. Even so, what? It passes her, the Benasha, to eat the truma from her father's house. The chuppah kiknisa be'iladanya. Because chuppah, guys, is like beer. It's like beer. So even though you didn't, it's enough to make her a halala. That's what Rab says. Rab says the act of chuppah without kedushin can make her a halala. Says Tosfos, near Lari lefarish lefi shitas hakonchis the pligi bechuppah b'lei kesef. They had chuppah without kesef. The Rabu Shmuel Sabri Rav Huna this leiberesh kedushin the chuppah kaina. Chuppah kaina mikal b'chayim. Right? There's a famous Gemara. The Kama Rav the chihechi the kona kedushay chuppah b'kashrus. Just like kedushay chuppah works on a regular marriage, it will be kaina without erison. Hachanami kani b'psailis. It will make a kinya by psailis. So if you're kaina, then she's a halal and she can't eat. That's Rav. V'adifa mikdushay kesef, and it's more so that feel Rav Elazar Reb Shimon dami the kedushay kesef lepasli b'chuppah the krayv l'bia moida. Guys, you hear this? Says Rav, even though Rabbi Elazar and Rav Shimon would say by an arusa, even though it's a mishtameris l'bia psula, you could eat truma. They would be moida over here by chuppah, since we're equating it with a bia, that you don't eat truma. Our Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar Machlokes, Rabbi Meir says mishtameris l'bia psula out. Rabbi Elazar Shimon, as long as you're not a halala, in. They would say, since the dynamics of chuppah equates with a bia, you would be a halala and you wouldn't be able to eat truma according to the materium of a Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. That's Taisus. Taisus gives that nice connection. That's the svara. Because chuppah, you're saying, is better than kesef kedushin. Because it's krayvel a bia. Because it makes one sense closer. And bia is what's making you a halala. Ushmu lama no. Ein chuppah l'pseilis, and she continued to eat. And Amar Shmuel says, Umoidali Abba. Now his name was Abba Richta. But look at Rashi over here, guys. Umoidali Abba. Yeah, three lines down, Rashi. Umoidali Abba, Mishum de Kashasmin. He was older than him. Korele Abba, K'may Lashin, Nisiyev Rebbe. He gave him a title. Usually he says, his name was Abba Richta. That was Rav's name, his real name. But Rashi says over here, because he called him like Tata, called him Tata, you know? So it's Umoidali Abba, Abba's Moida. A child that's less than 3 in a day. Since there's no bia, there's no chuppah. So let's say you have this child that's 2, that's not 3 in a day, 3 years old, a day short. Her father marries her off when she's a katana. Father marries her when she's a katana, and she's a bas kohen, even though he does a chuppah without what? Without kedushin. But we might that doesn't work. You know why? Because the bia of a girl less than 3 in a day is not a bia. And the whole svar of chuppah is what? We equate it with a bia. So since there's no bia over here, there's no chuppah over here, and memelo what? She would be able to continue eating. So Omaydali Abba v'tarikis pchusi b'shalom sham yacher hoyel ve'in labia ein lachuppah. Amarava afana nami tanina. We also learned bas shalom v'yamechad miskadeshes b'bia. A girl who is 3 in a day, she can be acquired with bia. Then ba'aleha yavam kana. Yavam can be kind of her. Mishum eshes ish, and if she's married, you will be chayv al seishes ish. You will be chayv misa. Umitama es boila. She be mitama boila as be boila nida. The tami mishkav tachlan keelyon to mitama the tachlan keelyon. That's by a zov. It's an avatuma by a boiling nida. It's a rishon. Nisis lekoye in oichle betruma. If she's married to a kohen, she's a bas yisrael. She'll be truma. In other words, the bia is a bia. Ba'ala acha mikol psulim pasla. She would be a halala. Bashal sham yachad who the nifsla bebia nifsla bechuppah. Bashal sham would be pasla bebia is possible chuppah. Hapchusim bashal sham yachad the lay nifsla bebia lay nifsla nami bechuppah. Shmamina l'chari you have a very good value. And this is really a segue in tomorrow, but let's hold off until tomorrow. Okay, very good. Thank you everyone for listening. Have a good evening.